702.
Health and wellness.
22 minutes now before 12 o'clock. Time for our health and wellness feature. And today we are having a conversation on our health and wellness feature about meditation. Do you meditate? And how often do you meditate? I want us to have a chat about the benefits of meditation and how to do it, especially for beginners, right? In today's fast-paced world, stress, anxiety, and burnout are challenges that many South Africans face daily. In fact, around the world and even here at home, meditation has moved from being seen as a purely spiritual practice to becoming a widely recognized tool for managing mental health and improving overall well-being. In fact, when you look at a number of surveys, they suggest that millions of people now use meditation regularly, whether through guided apps or wellness programs at work or community classes. Interest has really grown sharply in recent years. You've got more and more people looking for accessible ways to cope with daily pressures. But for beginners, meditation can still be intimidating. And that's why I want someone who can take us through some tips for some of you that want to try it out. How do you start meditating, right? What real benefits has it brought for you? When did you begin meditating? Share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Olivia Moon is a wellness expert joining us for this conversation. Olivia, thank you for your time. Hi.
Hi, Clement. Thanks for having me on this morning.
So for someone new to meditation, maybe they've just heard their friends talk about it or some wellness coaches talk about it. What exactly is meditation? What does it entail?
So meditation is a practice that we can come into a space of presence with ourselves. And there's many different ways that we can meditate. But ultimately what we're doing is we're starting to train this muscle that we have of our own awareness. So a lot of people think that meditation is about not thinking, but actually what it is we start to create space between who we are, as in the awareness, and the thoughts. So it's this practice of really starting to focus the mind and bring ourselves into a space of calm. And the way that we do that is we use something, either the breath, we use a mantra, and I'll get into all of this in a moment, as a way to intentionally guide our awareness away from that consistently chattering mind, so that we can actually come into a space of presence.
Okay, so are you just like silent in that process, and you'll talk to us and maybe get into the mantras as well and the things that are said during that process? How does it work? Like, do I switch down my mind completely? I can't be thinking of anything. I'm trying to be as practical as possible.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so what you would do is you would preferably find a quiet place that you could sit. You could also do it lying down. And really the idea is that we find something for our awareness to focus on. So when I say the mind is, we have our thoughts, but we can also shift our awareness away from our thoughts. So what we use is we find something to focus on, which could be, in different practices, either the breath. So I'll start with the breath. So in a meditation session, what you would do is you would come into a quiet seat, and then you would begin to notice your breath. And by noticing your breath, you would allow your focus to shift from the thoughts. So it's not about not thinking, but it's about starting to observe your thoughts rather than identify with them. So it's this beautiful opportunity to strengthen this muscle of awareness. So we start to notice, which sometimes might sound like news to people, but you actually are not your thoughts. You are the one observing your thoughts. So what this practice really does at its root is create a little bit more space between what's going on in the thoughts of the mind and where we are, which is ultimately the seat of the observer of our experience.
What are the main health and well-being benefits of regular meditation? And how often would you advise people to do it who want to see these benefits?
So, I mean, the benefits, as I think you touched upon them, are numerous. And, you know, we can look at them on a physical level. And I think the main one that I think is the most relevant to everyone is it helps us to manage stress. So by meditating, we can actually lower the cortisol levels in our body, which is a very, very powerful stress hormone that has a knock-on effect of other different systems in our body. And it can actually, in this way, help us to sleep better. It can lower our blood pressure. But what it can also really do is help us with emotional resilience and emotional regulation. So really, to me, what this practice does, so we do this practice, say, for example, preferably every day, but if not every day, then as often as possible. So the important thing to know about meditation is that it is a practice, so you're never going to get there. The whole point of the practice is to keep practicing. And what this really helps us to do, ultimately, is it helps us to become responsive in our lives rather than reactive. So when we start to practice this muscle of awareness, we can start to create a little bit more space, and we bring ourselves into presence that we can then, in our interactions, in our relationships, in our work, we can start to be more intentional in the way that we show up. And this is really something that you can start to feel the more that you practice.
And how much time should a beginner set aside each day or each time that they meditate?
So, ideally it would be great if it could be 20 minutes, but really 5 minutes done consistently is better than 20 minutes done once a week. So if you had to imagine, it's just like any kind of muscle, you're wanting to be consistent with it. You don't want to go to the gym once and then not go again for the next month. You want to just start to do something a little bit more every day. And what ends up happening is even if you carve out 3 or 5 minutes, you might find that as you experience the benefits, you feel more motivated to maybe next time continue and go on a little bit longer.
Okay. It's 15 minutes now before 12 o'clock. After the break, I will take some calls. I'll take some WhatsApps as well. Do you meditate? What kind of benefits have you seen from meditating? Maybe it worked for you. Maybe it didn't work for you. I want you to share your experiences with us. Or maybe you are considering trying it out because you really are looking for something to help with your stress, your anxiety, maybe your sleep problems as well. What questions do you have for my guest, Olivia Moon, who is a wellness expert? 011-883-0702. You can send WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702.
702. Health and wellness.
12 minutes before 12 o'clock. Let's start with your WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, Clement and your guests. To me, meditation used to be just a word until I was diagnosed with an illness that I battled to accept. Even when I was told that I can survive, I was just, so to help me out, I was taught meditation, breathing to relieve the stress and the anxiety. And I noted that with meditation, I was even able to sleep with ease, because mostly I would think a lot about the illness, and I would have sleepless nights, but meditation calmed me down. Thanks, Dima.
Oh, interesting. Thank you so much, Avshdima, for that. Another person on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, on meditation, it's life-changing. The primary school I went to used to give us meditation time at the start and end of school, as well as classes on self, nature, and spiritual awareness as part of the curriculum. It's been a positive influence since on my whole well-being, on my whole life experience and growth as well. I find that fascinating, Olivia, that there are schools out there that offer time at the start and at the end for just to allow for people to meditate.
I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it should be happening more and more. And I just love these voice notes and this feedback, because I can say until I'm blue in the face all these benefits, but to hear it from people who are really practicing it, and as someone who does practice meditation daily, it really is something that can actually change your life. And what's beautiful about it is that it's accessible to everybody. It doesn't have to be coupled with any kind of spiritual practice. It is actually a secular practice. So you can do it in a way that is quite scientific, really. I mean, as you would have seen when you look into this, there's a lot of scientific research on the benefits of how meditation brings us into a different brainwave. So it takes us from this theta brainwave state where the mind is quite busy to this alpha brainwave state where we can be more creative, where we can be more present. So there's we can really approach it from many different angles. And as I was saying before, there's different ways to meditate as well. When we come back to this idea of the mantra, so we can focus on our breath as a tool for bringing us into presence. And what I love about the breath is that, the breath is only happening in the now, right? We can't breathe in the past. We can't breathe in the future, whereas the thoughts are moving us everywhere, right? It's moving us to the future, to the past. But when we focus on the breath, we come into the present moment. But we can also use, for some people who have got a very busy mind, something like a mantra. And the word mantra actually means mind tool. So it's a tool for the mind to focus on so that the thoughts are not the ones that are running the show. And a mantra is a simple word or phrase or sound, something like Om, you could say, and you would repeat that in your mind over and over again. And in that process, everything starts to kind of calm down internally. And so that's all these practices come from very, very ancient traditions that have all been brought into the modern day, which I think is a wonderful thing because we are more stressed than ever before. And so anything that can support us, especially something that doesn't cost money, is something that is a tool that I would love to spread more and more around.
Yeah, and then on the WhatsApp line, Hare says, I've been meditating since I was a teenager because I developed anxiety. I meditate before I sleep to calm the thoughts and in the mornings as well so I can be calm. I use an app I use an app for guided meditation because my thoughts are very loud. So for beginners, Olivia, do you advise that they maybe start alone and do those just simple mantras or maybe start with an app? What's the best way, especially for beginners?
Definitely start with an app. So a guided meditation is going to be such a supportive tool, and that's the wonderful thing about technology is we have all of these free, incredible meditation apps that we can use. And so when we are new to this practice, just having someone continuously guiding you through it really helps you to get the benefits without, getting in your own way. What generally will happen is that over time, and if you do it for long enough, or if you perhaps feel inspired to take a meditation course, you will get to the point that you just want to be alone in your silence, in your silent practice. But to start with, I would recommend downloading a free app. There's so many. Some I can mention are one called Insight Timer, which is a beautiful worldwide app. I actually have got some guided meditations of my own on there too. And you can go on there and you can find meditations for everything. So you could find meditation for sleep, for anxiety, for self-love, anything that you're navigating, there's a meditation for that. Some other ones that are great are Headspace. And there's also an app which I haven't personally tried, which I know is very popular, called Calm. So those are just a few. And, really there are more and more of these every day. So definitely starting with an app, starting with just 5 minutes, and being really kind with yourself, because some days it's going to be easier than others. And really with all these practices, even the actual practice of meditation, once again, it's not about not thinking. We can almost see it as we're focusing on, for example, the breath, or we're focusing on the mantra, and the mind is playing in the background, a bit like a radio, actually. And so we can choose, am I going to listen to the radio, or am I going to focus on the breath? But, what really ends up happening is that we start to just find a sense of calm and peace within ourselves, because the practice itself is not about, once again, not getting caught up in the thoughts. The practice is every time we notice we've got caught up in the thoughts and we come back to the breath, that's the muscle that we're building. We're building this muscle of awareness. So all of these guided meditations are wonderful. It's a beautiful way to start to strengthen that muscle so that you can then go out and do it on your own. Anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people are saying, yeah, but I'm so busy, I want to try this, but I really have no time. So any advice for people who have hectic lives? Like, how can they make meditation a habit and fit that into their busy lifestyles?
Yeah. This is the thing, it really is about, if you think about 5 minutes, how easily do we kill 5 minutes scrolling on our phone? It can happen in an instant. So it is about starting to prioritize it. And this is why it's important, when we can understand what the benefits are. It is going to, in the beginning, require a bit of willpower to get started. But my advice is always to find a time in the day that you can stack it with something else you do. So there's this idea that we have of habit stacking. So maybe it's just after you brush your teeth or just before you brush your teeth, you take those 5 minutes. I actually think the best time to do it is just when you wake up. So you don't even get out of bed. You can even sit in your bed and you can play your guided meditation with your earphones on. And then you're already starting your day. And what I love about starting your day with meditation, we are so in our life now, most people are waking up, grabbing their phone, responding to text messages, responding to emails. And what that does is it drains our energy from the moment we wake up because we're just reacting to everything happening around us. Whereas meditation is a bit like putting yourself on the charging bank and taking that moment to connect with yourself, to notice, how am I feeling today? What are my thoughts like? What are my sensations in my body like? And start to connect with yourself first so that you can actually give more from a fuller cup.
Yeah, Olivia, thank you so much. Thank you so much for making time for us. Olivia Moon is a wellness expert.